Wonderful. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for the time today. Thank you for joining us today. Um, we have a session today talking about creativity's impact on attention and outcomes. So, by way of introduction, my name is Matt Butts. I looked after ad measurement and insights over at WeTransfer, and I am joined by my wonderful friend Ella Britton. She looks after, she's a strategy director at Total Media and Behave. What I'm gonna do to make sure I do Ella justice is to read through her full bio because she's been putting in work, y'all. Ella has 8+ years experience in creative and media strategy, working both client and agency side. Currently, she leads creative and media strategy efforts at Total Media and Behave. She previously joined from BBC and is the strategy lead for clients across a variety of sectors, as well as heading up their creative planning team, which she launched back in 2022. She's been active, y'all, so just wanted to make sure we got that out there. Now, as we get into things, why creativity? So one of the things that I wanted to do was quickly set a little bit of groundwork on my thoughts around creativity and its association to outcomes. Creativity is one of the elements that I feel are underutilized in data-backed insights that help make the decisions that we want. For the most part, we heavily rely on making media optimizations, right? So adjusting targeting, placements, ad formats, the contextual parts of targeting, right? The contextual environments. We do a lot of that, but we don't necessarily put the same amount of effort and energy and even know what, from a creative standpoint, specifically influences the outcomes that we care about. What are the specific elements, building blocks of a specific creative? Now, we understand that a consumer, for the most part, doesn't know that we've moved heaven and earth behind the scenes to adjust the targeting, to make sure that we hit them with the right ad at the right time in the way that they want. They don't know that. But what they do see is what's in front of them, what they experience in the ad experience, right? And that is one of the things that we wanted to work much deeper with Lumen in doing this custom research to explore the specific ingredients as it pertains to creativity that drives the outcomes that we care most about. Now, creativity more broadly is really what defines WeTransfer, from the creatives, the artists, all the people who use our platform to share their work, but also the beautiful full-screen canvas ads that we have at WeTransfer is what sparks the joy that so many people have grown to love. So with the work that we've done with Lumen, we've been able to deconstruct creatives that run on our platform for us to actually understand what creative element is going to drive the outcome that your brand, that an advertiser specifically cares about. Now, with creativity, I've historically seen a lot of reliance on gut feel when it comes to creativity, and we shouldn't ignore gut feel by any means, right? Gut feel is an important part of just us being human, but we need to balance that with data-backed insights. So we're going to explore a couple of insights today that resonated quite well with Ella too, as we were talking about the data points. Now, we don't have 7 hours to go through all 300 insights that we have, but we do got the next 10 minutes or so to really talk about some that really popped to the surface. So with that, we're going to go into the first insight. And the first insight is all about evoking emotion. So positivity positively impacts outcomes and perceptions. Now, when we talk about gut feel, that is probably the epitome of thinking about, okay, sure, I would assume that in most cases, but now we have the data to validate that from a WeTransfer perspective. So when we think about consumers having the positive emotion, we see that there is higher ad recall. But what I really want your eye to see is what purchase intent really looks like. And purchase intent is the metric that really caught my eye here and really validated the gut feel that I had with this data, right? Now, when you think about emotion, whether it's good or bad emotion, recall is all about memorability, right? So you'll remember how an ad made you feel, whether it was good or bad. But if an ad makes you feel good, you're more likely to take an action towards that brand. So this data actually validated exactly what most of our gut feel was when it comes to making sure if the consumer feels good, then it bodes well for the advertiser and the outcomes that we want to drive. We also see similar symmetry when it comes to brand perceptions in the same token. Now with that, I'm going to bring in Ella. I had to set the stage with all of that, but now we're going to bring in the star of the show. So Ella, one of the questions that I had for you specifically was, how does evoking emotion play a critical role in the creative approaches that you take? And also, when it comes to the outcomes that's driven, what examples have you seen that work quite well?
Yeah, so, is that a bit loud or is that all right? We're all good. Okay. So we know that emotion is the key driver of creative effectiveness. So really all of our clients utilize emotions in different ways. So I think that humor is kind of the most obvious emotion being utilized. Also seems to have made a comeback at Cannes. I know a lot of the creatively awarded pieces this year utilize humor. We see it a lot with our clients. So one of our clients is Rustlers. So the It's Better Than You Think logo, it's a microwavable burger, really playing into challenging perceptions around the brand. They did some really nice work, Droga 5 did, with Little Red Riding Hood, and all around kind of the wolf and Little Red Riding Hood having a great relationship, all about, isn't it better when, things turn out a little bit better than you think they might? And that's run for a really long time, showing its effectiveness. We've also got Epson, which is a printing company. They have a printer called EcoTank, and they did a campaign all around kind of printing fails. So what happens when you're searching in the back of your drawer for that last cartridge when you need to print off your kids' homework, or you're going on holiday and you have to print off the boarding pass. So all kind of tapping into humorous moments and also relatable moments as well. I think Liquid Death are doing a really sick job at the moment with their Death Dust with Ozzy Osbourne. And I don't know if you guys have seen Booking.com with Brooklyn Beckham. Great campaign, really, really nice, kind of making him almost like a parody of himself. And again, just doing a really good job. As well as humor, I'd say one emotion I think is really underutilized is surprise. Surprise intensifies emotions by 400%. So if you can get it right, it can be really impactful. And that doesn't just mean doing something mad with the creative itself. It can also be surprising media formats or media placements. So Hiscox, the insurance business, have done that really well this year with their most disastrous campaign of all time, where they did 21 special builds, so out-of-home special builds, that looked a bit more like a cinema release, like of a film, rather than something for an insurance company. So people see it, they're surprised by it, and then they remember it.
When it comes to surprise,
yes,
is it more of a pleasant surprise or?
Well, I think it can be both, because so what happens with surprise is your brain goes through kind of 3 stages. So the first one is you become quite alert, and then you freeze. So you have a moment of freezing, and then you respond and react. I don't necessarily think it has to all be good. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Pot Noodle's new slurping campaign. Straight away when you listen to that, it's quite surprising because it's quite disgusting. And when you hear it, you're going, oh, that's really unpleasant. Mm-hmm. But then what they did is they then retargeted people who had heard the campaign, immediately switched it off, and retargeted them with positive audio that they might like. So it's almost like you can use negative emotion, you can evoke a certain response, you can surprise people, but then they followed it up with something positive. So I don't know, I think you can do things with negative emotions as well that can be quite interesting.
Wonderful. So both sides of the coin. So yeah. I want to switch gears for a second and move from emotion to talk a little bit about motion. So one of the key insights that came from the work that we did was specifically looking at how motion moves the needle. And some of the insights, am I not pressing this hard enough? There it is. So motion-centric creatives lead in boosting intent. So what we're seeing on WeTransfer, sorry, I'm losing the screen. What we see on WeTransfer is that video and animated creatives, they're the ones who lead the charge on our platform in driving specifically intent. So if we want consumers to take an action that we specifically care about, when you think about how to activate on the WeTransfer platform specifically, motion is what's going to move the needle. And just to clarify, with animated creatives, it's more about non-video related motion. So think about like flashing creatives or maybe GIF or animated little creatives. So not quite video, but still includes motion. All of those motion-based elements are essential in driving specifically lower funnel outcomes on WeTransfer. So specifically, going back to you, Ella, how do you infuse differentiation and uniqueness when it comes to that? So I just mentioned how we can deviate a little bit from traditional just standard video and use other types of motion to still drive strong outcomes.
Yeah.
How does uniqueness, differentiation play in the role when you're thinking about outcomes?
Yeah, so I think what's really interesting about that is I think using a combination of different media types, media formats is really important. So whether that's, motion or kind of still, there's different ways of doing it and you can see really great outcomes. What I'd say is what the most important thing is that you have a kind of strategic consistency across the whole thing. So you're going to want the strategy to remain the same in all forms of creative, but then you can adapt where you see fit and make those formats really kind of well suited to the creative messaging. So similar to kind of the example I gave for Hiscox, we did a lot of really brilliant things. So Uncommon, the creative studio, did a lot of amazing activations for out of home. But then we did a WeTransfer takeover, which was all about confidentiality of files. So really speaking to people about relevant content where they were. And then an amazing Metro cover, which was actually a blank cover that said insert image here. And then the next page, said, when you missed your Metro deadline, who's to blame? So it was following the same thread, but it was really kind of adapting the content to suit that platform. And that's something that's really important. So you don't lose the overarching strategy, but you make it specific to each platform.
I love that. So, Ella, as we wind down,
yes.
I want to pick your brain, and I really want you to leave some gems for the audience here. Yeah. So, from what you've seen more broadly in the wild, what are some do's and don'ts as it pertains to creativity?
Yeah, so I'd say do always learn from other categories. So take inspiration from elsewhere. Don't just rely on, if you're an FMCG, don't just look at the FMCG category. Look at automotive, look at financial industries. They're doing exciting things and it's all out there. Do invest in creative development and amazing creative thinkers because they're out there and they're absolutely brilliant. Do try new things. Try different media formats, different media platforms, different creative messages, while not doing too much, which is going into one of the don'ts.
Exactly.
So you never, ever want to be kind of losing your brand or losing your messaging because you're doing something completely different in different places. You really, really want to have that consistency that threads all the way through. And don't scrimp and save on the audience research. Understand your audiences, not only kind of how to reach them, but also where to find them is really important as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. Last point. What is your rallying cry in 30 seconds for the industry on when we're talking about the importance of creativity?
Of course, yeah. So rallying cry would be creative collaboration first and foremost. Get your creative agency, your internal creatives in a room with your media agency from day one so that you can save as a brand so much money, so much time, and you can come up with the most amazing work.
Wonderful. Oh, how do we go back? And that, my friends, is it. Thank you so much for the time, for your attention, of course, wordplay. And we also have the full insights that we're going to have published soon, white paper coming through. I'm also going to be doing a walkthrough of the full slew of insights. And you can go meet us over at the WeTransfer advertising booth right over there. We'll be there for the rest of the day. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.